Well, hello, good morning. Hey, so I wanted to get on this morning and tell you about a couple of things that have happened this month art-wise. And I also wanted to just share some thoughts with you. And I told you, I believe last week, that I wanted to start doing a vlog. And my goal is to do it weekly, and it's unscripted. It's just some thoughts that I have that I want to share with you, or it'll probably be different every week depending on what's going on in my life. But I pretty much work alone in my studio, and it's just nice to talk to people online. And I do that through Facebook and Instagram, but I thought if I did the videos on YouTube, I could bring some of my followers over here and we could just have a conversation. I know Facebook and Instagram changes their algorithms all the time, and so it's hard to get traction over there. And they're not my favorite places to be anyway because of some of the politics that are talked about on Facebook. If you know me personally, you know that I have opinions about things, but I don't like to spend my energy talking about a lot of the politics stuff. So I thought this would be like a nice little safe place where you could come into my studio and we could chat about art and chat about creativity and mindset and all those fun things, and just have a good time and have a fun time. So a couple of the things that have happened this week that I wanted to share with you is that and if you follow me on Instagram, you may have seen some snippets of this, but some of the paintings that I have been painting over the last couple of months, they got entered into a local show here. A friend of mine who lives here, she's also an artist, Joan, her and I both entered pieces. We sort of challenged each other because we've been here for 2 years and we've been talking about it for a while. And finally, we decided to bite the bullet and let's just create some art, let's paint something and enter it into one of the shows here. Well, we didn't know that it's probably one of the most popular shows here in town, and throughout the year they have shows every month. So anyways, that was one thing that we did, and I'll talk to you more about that later and do a little video on that and show you the art in that. And then the other, it was called the Blossom Festival art show, by the way, here in Canyon City. The other thing I wanted to tell you is that we entered some mock-ups to be part of the Rotary Club Springs Flight show this year. And what that is it's called the Butterfly Flight. And it's these big, some of them are big butterflies. Some of them are petite, smaller butterflies, but they're made of metal. And the artist, they paint them in different ways, and then the larger ones are meant to go outside in a garden, and so once the artists are finished painting them, they get coated like with a clear coat so they can be outside without being damaged. And there's a auction in the fall, and they auction off these butterflies, and I assume the money goes to the Rotary Club. But anyways, Joan does it every year, and she convinced me to and try it this year and enter it. So I did, and we both got accepted. And so next week, I think we pick up our supplies for the butterflies. And so I can share that with you, what it looks like, and I'll share that process of painting those. I've never painted one before, but I'm looking forward to it. You had to do sort of a mock-up beforehand. So I know what I'm going to do. It's just the fact of actually painting on the metal that will be an experiment for me. And then the reason I really wanted to get on here today is because I, back in December, I started this little mural behind me on my wall. And at the time it was after Christmas, and sometimes you feel like the start of the new year. You know, a lot of people do resolutions and they have like all these expectations of how their year is going to go. And for me, I was just sort of getting bored with these gray walls. Gray walls aren't bad to have if you're painting because it doesn't reflect a lot. different colors and stuff, but it's super boring. And with the concrete walls, it's hard to hang art on the walls unless you like are drilling holes and stuff. And this isn't our forever home, so I didn't want to drill any holes in the wall to hang art. So I thought I would, decide what I want to put back there. And I wanted something inspiring. Um, and I sort of, because I work alone so much, I thought it would be fun to have a person, a female. And so that's why I chose that particular girl to paint. But I videographed or filmed part of me actually painting it, and I took pictures along with the process. But I thought I would just talk to you a little bit more about that today. So I've edited a video, and I hope you enjoy it.
The first thing I want to do is find some research to use. Hiro Boga talks about how our business has a soul of its own. I really like the idea of having an image to reflect the soul of my business. I wanted to find an image that represented my idea of what she might look like. This took me a couple of days. I did several Google and Pinterest and Instagram searches. I searched the terms lady, murals, florals, and specifically woman facing left. After a lot of searching, I downloaded several images. I narrowed it down to these 2 images. I only want to use the images as reference and combine them. I didn't want to copy them exactly. This image is from a mural that Bad Way Creative painted. She does a lot of murals, and you can find her on Instagram. I like the face, but not all the other extra elements. And she kind of seemed familiar to me for some reason. I also like the butterflies and flowers in this image. So now that I know what images I'm going to use, I get busy cleaning up the area and putting down a plastic garbage bag so that I don't get paint on my black desk. At this point, I was planning to use gesso and on the concrete wall and then sketch the mural and then paint it with acrylic paints. As I'm doing most any project, I always ask myself, is there an easier way or quicker way to do this? Not that I'm lazy, I just like to get projects done. I was thinking about what I would use to sketch the image onto the wall as I'm cleaning up. Maybe a brush with paint, maybe a pencil. I might use a charcoal for sketching. And then that led me to remembering that I had these new pastels that I could use. I don't really do a lot of art with these, so I thought I could at least use them on this project. So the wall is clear and ready. I grab my supplies, and this is when it hit me. Here's a tip. If you ask, your brain will always find answers to your questions. So when I had asked, how can I make this process quicker or easier, my brain said, skip the gesso and paint, just use the pastels. I remember seeing artists use chalk on sideways, so I thought maybe this will work. I would need to seal it later, but I could seal it with a spray, so yay, this may not take forever for me to finish. So here's another tip. Take a picture of the naked wall, especially if it's a concrete wall with blemishes, and place your image over top of it. Sometimes you can do this on your phone, or I use Photoshop. What this does is it allows you to have a roadmap of where the parts of your mural should be placed. For example, the spots on the concrete lined up with some of the flowers and butterflies. So I brought the images into Photoshop and overlaid them and made them a little transparent so that I could see the concrete wall. Then I printed it out. I sketched the image right onto the wall using a light colored pastel so that it would show up against the gray concrete. I started with her head, and I did a pretty good job, but as I was starting on the flowers and the butterflies, I realized that the butterfly at the bottom left was going to get cut off, so I needed to shift the image over a few inches. That meant I needed to resketch the entire thing again. So instead of erasing and started over, I went into Photoshop, I corrected the image in Photoshop, and reprinted it. Then to save time, I decided to use my projector. This saved me a ton of time. The room had to be fairly dark in order to see the image with the projector, so I only used the projector for the outline and the placement of the elements. The rest I filled in freehand. After I finished it, I sprayed it with a clear sealer. I love how it turned out, and I'm planning to do a few more before the end of the year. The ideas I have are, on this wall, I'll paint some huge flowers. And on this wall, I'd like a huge animal head, maybe a lion or a tiger head, but I'll keep you posted on that in the future. Oh, by the way, a little side note. I felt that I had seen that image of the lady before and discovered that this woman is actually a model, and her name is Adriana Michelle. I think it's beautiful, and I love the way the mural turned out.
So I hope you enjoyed that little piece of information and got to get to know me a little bit better. And I am just curious what you have going on this week. And let me know in the comments. And please subscribe if you haven't already. I look forward to getting to know you a little bit better. And just let me know what you're working on, what kind of art you do, and what you enjoy doing. Okay? Talk to you later.